What's going on, you guys? Robert Coda here, aka Mr. Cutthroat. You already know what we're all about here at Cutthroat Coaching. Functionality, performance, and longevity. I am so excited to share this video with you guys because it's going to give you a full in-depth breakdown on my whole training method. So much value in here for you guys and a deeper insight into my story, how all of this came about. And by the end of this video, I'm going to make you question everything that you've ever known about how to approach your fitness. For starters, this picture here is from 2022, my last amateur fight. I landed that shot that you see there, stunned him. He was almost knocked down on his feet. Got 2 more shots off. Slept him pretty good. One of my favorite knockouts. Throughout this whole training, I'll be playing little visuals on the side of the screen to really help you guys understand the point that I'm trying to make and also keep you guys entertained. So again, my name is Robert Coda. I am a professional MMA fighter and performance training coach. My combined record between amateur and pro is 9-0. Fortunately, I've been able to win all my fights by knockout. And I've been implementing this training method since before my last amateur fight. I'm from San Diego and I'm currently in Dubai. Why am I in Dubai? Because I had a client who seen the value in this training method and wanted to learn in person. So, I mean, that just goes to show this shit's real, guys. I've been delivering amazing results to all of my clients with online programs this whole time.
It has surpassed my expectations on how I'm actually able to move my body.
This is the first time that this has happened. I always knew that this would happen because my training method is very unique. You can't get it anywhere else. So it was only a matter of time. The royal family of Qatar was also hitting me up, which I would be with them right now, but instead I'm here, and that will probably happen later this year. I moved to Orange County in 2023, and then I moved to Vegas in 2025 of July. Been living there and working on my development as a fighter, and I'll hopefully fight next year in March 2027. I have 3 brothers. This is us here. And it was right around the time that this photo was taken that I knew that I wanted to be a pro MMA fighter. I also did football, soccer, baseball, and skiing, snowboarding, but something about MMA really excited me much more than anything. So here was my problem. I was training so hard in bodybuilding from age 13 to around age 17. I would do my bodybuilder lifts in the morning, and then I would go do my MMA training at night. And when I would do my MMA training, I would feel like my bodybuilder training was going against my performance because I was making gains in the gym, getting stronger, lifting heavier, looking more jacked, but my punches weren't harder. I wasn't faster. I wasn't moving better. And this was a problem because when you're fighting, your health is on the line. We're talking about me risking permanent brain damage, and I didn't care about looks at all. My abs were symmetrical since I was like 8 years old. They looked like this. My genetic muscle shape was what it was. So I wasn't concerned about aesthetics at all. I knew that if I just trained hard, I would look good regardless. So the only thing on my mind was improving my performance. This is all that mattered. And the fact that my bodybuilder training was going against my performance because I was feeling less efficient in my movement. And like I said, my punches weren't harder. That was a problem, and I needed to fix it because I was trying to go all the way to the top in my head, and I knew I had to separate myself, so I was willing to do whatever it takes. And that was what kind of led me down this whole path of learning about human movement and performance training. I would go to my MMA and I would feel stiff throughout my body, and I just felt a disconnect between my strength and conditioning and my actual performance. And what I've came to find is that we need to train based on our biomechanics as humans. We're built to be on our feet. If you think about our ancestors 200, 300, 500 years ago, what were they doing? They're going on long walks, they're hunting, they're throwing spears, running, right? So standing, walking, running, throwing. This is the main concept behind how and why we do everything that we do. Your posture and the efficiency of your movement patterns are the most important things that you have to consider when aiming to achieve a lifelong result of functional strength, performance, and longevity. Both of these, the posture and the efficiency of your movement patterns, are nervous system adaptations. And I'm going to break this down. So in order to optimize your main core functions as a human, standing, walking, running, and throwing, we need to eliminate the leaks, the inefficiencies in our body's system related to our posture and the efficiency of our movement patterns, the way we produce force, while preserving joint health. If you need to rewind what I just said and listen to it again, then do it, because that right there is the sauce. So the missing link with most people's training is that they put too much focus on isolation exercises and heavy lifting. What does this do? It goes against the main core functions because the way that people train is causing them to adapt nervous system adaptations, which is poor posture and inefficient movement patterns. patterns. So this is why so many people age 30, 40 that have been consistent in the gym for years still deal with problems like back stiffness. They feel like they're getting old. They feel stiff throughout their body. Their joints ache. If you've been putting effort into taking care of your body since you were 20 or however long, 10 years experience in the gym, then you should be feeling good. But the fact that you're dealing with these problems, guys, there's a problem here. You guys need to fix this. You guys are not training based on your biomechanics and how we actually operate in real life. So people always ask, where did I learn all this stuff? I learned from YouTube, investing into online coaches, working with in-person coaches, combining everything, and that's how I learned it. It took me a long time, guys. It took me a long time. I've been implementing this method and learning about it since before my first amateur fight. This fight here was my second amateur Muay Thai fight. This was in Las Vegas, and one of my hardest fights. One of my most embarrassing moments happened in this fight with this guy. I was not ready for a tall southpaw. I had never even sparred a tall southpaw. He kicks me right in my chest, sits me down. So embarrassing. I had like 30 people fly out to Vegas to watch me, but I still ended up winning the fight by knockout in the third round. But that happened in the first round. So embarrassing. Obviously, you guys have seen these videos that I post on my Instagram. These workouts that I'm doing them in a normal gym setting. People always ask, oh, what kind of equipment do I need? Guys, I do one-to-one coaching, custom programming, so I'll make it work with whatever you have. But guys, again, I'm doing my lifts in a normal gym next to people that are sitting there doing the most basic movements up and down. You turn, you see me, I'm more jacked, I'm moving more athletically, and it's just so obvious that what I'm doing is the way. It's the way of the future. Here's the question. Why would you train for aesthetics when you can train for performance and aesthetics is a byproduct? You killed two birds with one stone, and not only that, it was so obvious that I was enjoying my training so much more, which is another reason why people can't get good results in the gym. You think about going to work out, you dread the thought of working out. Me, I'm excited. I love it. When you're passionate about it, you come in with excitement and you get better results. So of course, I wanted people to feel as good as I felt because I was getting jacked. I felt great. I felt athletic, and it was so easy for me to effortlessly maintain tip-top shape because of my training method. I just see the problem with the way that people were training. And guys, whenever I would fall out of shape, even if I was just 3% body fat percentage higher than I wanted to be, I felt like I couldn't even be myself. It messed with my confidence so much. And you guys know that the way that you view yourself shapes your entire reality. The way that you view yourself influences the decisions you make, the standards that you tolerate, the risks that you take, your energy, your confidence. I wanted people to have a positive self-image just like me because it was your daily life, every moment. I just see the problem, again, with the way that people train. They don't enjoy the training. They're not passionate about it. When you're not passionate about it, it feels like a chore. When it feels like a chore, you don't come with excitement. You don't get good results. And it's like, why? Because it doesn't make your body feel good. You're literally breaking your body down. People try to be consistent. They're consistent at their job, right? Like you've been consistent at your job for 5-10 years. You haven't gotten fired. So it's not that people are undisciplined. It's just that their training doesn't allow them to be consistent because it's literally breaking their body down. So all these things, I just wanted people to feel as good as I felt. And here we are. Let's just think for a moment about what gym culture says. No pain, no gain. David Goggins, who's going to carry the boats? Grind harder, push through it, discipline. But what if the reason you can't stay disciplined is because your body is literally telling you, hey, you need to chill? When you ask yourself what really matters to you, maybe it's body, maybe you want to be a bodybuilder and it's just aesthetics. Okay, that's cool. There's no problem with that. Everyone has different goals, but what I found is that a lot of people nowadays are starting to prioritize how they feel, functionality, longevity, and their daily living experience, right? Because when you have joint pain, this is like all throughout the day, you deal with this. When you feel stiff, when you don't feel athletic, when you don't feel like you're ready to protect your loved ones, this ruins your confidence. So it's like, of course, I have all these physique transformations on my page. I post them all the time. Like my guy Ezra right here, you can see this was in 9 weeks. Of course, his physique improved. I have that all over my page. But if you go onto my page and my client testimonials and you listen to what my clients are saying, this is a way bigger impact. This is where you really feel the energy and you really understand what this does for people's lives. One of the reasons why people age faster than they should is not because that's just what happens with age, but because you're not stimulating your body with the right movement patterns. You guys have heard the saying before, probably, if you don't use it, you lose it. What's so cool about this training style is that it works for both ends of the spectrum. Old people like 70, 80 years old can implement this concept. This is what this is. It's a concept behind the way that you approach the training. Old people can use it, and then People at the highest level, professional MMA fighters like myself, can use it. This is built for humans. So let's talk about the trap that people fall into, which is that gym progress does not equal performance gains. This is something that I experienced myself, and again, it's the reason why I started learning about performance training. You can hit PRs in the gym, but you won't punch harder, run faster, jump higher, or move better. Why? Because too much heavy lifting can lead to slower, inefficient, dysfunctional movement and posture. Guys, if you're putting effort into yourself and your health, you deserve to feel good. So the fact that you go to the gym, you put the effort, and it has the opposite effect, it's a trap. That's just how I feel about it. If you're putting effort into the gym, you deserve to feel good. You don't deserve the joint pain. You don't deserve to not feel ready for real life situations, like not just protecting your loved ones, but even just playing with your kids and their friends at the park. These micro moments matter. Getting up out of the chair, it takes 20 steps before your hips warm up and they stop aching, or having trouble putting your socks on, or going for a walk with your dog and you just don't feel like your body is built for real life. You don't deserve that. If you're showing up to the gym even just 3 or 4 times a week, you deserve better, but only if your actions are in alignment with your highest self. What does this mean? If your conscience is telling you, hey, I need to train for functionality, performance, and longevity, but you're not doing it, you're just doing what's comfortable, coping, doing what your ego tells you is what you're used to, and just staying right there when you know you need to switch things up. You know you need to learn about performance training. Don't hold yourself back. You need to look in the mirror and say, you know what? You deserve it, and then your actions need to match that. People always ask, where did you learn all this stuff? And again, I didn't learn it from one program. I had to take all of the programs that I learned from the online coaching programs to the in-person training to the YouTube videos I watched, and put them into something that was what I felt people really wanted in a user experience, because these programs were good and they all had something valuable to learn from, but they were missing key things. Some of them were building strength in, relating to the strength components, which is like raw strength, explosive strength, isometric strength. But they didn't really take into consideration the efficiency of our movement patterns and our posture. That was a problem with most programs. Others were a little bit too slow and wouldn't really get you in that good shape and were just a little bit boring and impractical and unrealistic. So I had to work my magic and just give the people what they want. I just know what people wanted, and here we are. After you join my program, I can guarantee you will never need to invest into another fitness program. A guy like my client David, he was always skinny in high school. After high school, he had a kid. He lost passion for his fitness. His joints were aching. This was a problem because he felt like he wasn't being the leader that he wanted to for his son. He couldn't even go box because he was just too out of shape. Long story short, joins my program. 8 months later, loses 80 pounds, starts boxing again. And of course, the thing that he says was the best part of all this was that he feels like he's being a positive role model for his son. You always got to look for the deeper reasoning and make it something bigger than just yourself, because that's how you really get the best result. Guys, I have tons of client results like this all over my page. You can go see them for yourself. Again, the physique transformations are cool, but when you listen to what they're actually saying, that's where it really makes a bigger impact. This is my guy, Nick. This was in 3 months. I mean, guys, this is night and day. It's a whole different person. In just 3 months, look what's possible. In 8 months, you see my guy Enzo here. Imagine walking into a room. You're the guy on the left. People look at you, they turn away. You're the guy on the right. Now they want to shake your hand. It's literally that simple. You get the results, you do the work, and your life changes. My guy Jake, once again, night and day difference. Whole different person, whole different life. People always ask, will I still build muscle? Of course you're going to build muscle. What's crazy is that you don't actually need that much heavy lifting to stimulate muscle growth. You can just do a few sets of heavy lifting per muscle group per week, and you will stimulate what you need to grow the muscle. Then you can do low intensity, high volume, which is less weight. As long as you're eating enough with enough volume, just a little bit of heavy lifting, you're still gonna grow. I mean, guys, this is guaranteed. Of course you can lift heavy and you can do this. Some people want to put a little bit more emphasis into the aesthetic, which I'll give you a little bit more heavy lifting. Again, guys, this is custom programming. Some guys only care about the functional aspect. Some guys want the functional aspect, but they still want to be a little bit more aesthetic. I can create your program however you want, but again, this is a concept of how we approach to fitness. Most people neglect the posture, the efficiency of the movement patterns, the nervous system training. I'm going to dive all into that right now. But if you're wondering if you're still going to build muscle, like, guys, come on, this is obvious. Exhibit A, my client, Dave On, literally gained 25 pounds in 8 months, and he's leaner, and he's more athletic. I mean, come on. So let me break this down for you real nice and simple. This is how it's done, okay? We need to optimize the main core functions: standing, walking, running, and throwing. How do we do this? Again, I mentioned earlier, we need to eliminate the leaks and the inefficiencies in our system related to the way that we stand and produce force. We need to keep that concept in the back of our mind the whole time while including all of these components of strength: foundational strength, absolute strength, power and speed, endurance, stability and control. This is just to make it really simple for you guys to understand. That is how you build a program that builds a body that performs as good as it looks. I'm about to blow your mind right now. So this is how we optimize the human body. We must teach the body to eliminate leaks in the system related to our main core functions, meaning we have to improve the efficiency of our movement patterns and our posture. Why? Because if we don't teach the body to move correctly, the force that we create works against us, and I will demonstrate. So, let's say that you're running, okay, like this. What's happening? You're creating force from the ground up through your body, and your intention is to drive that force to propel your body through space, like this. Now, if there's an inefficiency in the movement pattern, right, let's say that your hip is jolting a little bit, right? So instead of you going efficient like this, let's say that your hip keeps dipping like this. What happens? The force that you create, rather than traveling through your body to propel your body through space, that force is getting trapped in your hip. And then that force is working against you. That's where you get the pain. That's where you get the compensation patterns. That's where your posture starts to decline. That's where you start to debilitate. That's where you stop moving. You don't use it, you lose it. And then you tell yourself you're getting old. So this is how it's done. We need to do strength and conditioning based on our biomechanics as humans, posture training, nervous system training, which again, technically, our strength and conditioning and our posture training is nervous system adaptations. But I'm going to break this down real simple for you. And then we have to talk about recovery work. So we're going to get right into it. So first things first is posture. And it's probably not what you think it is. Most people think posture is just about standing up straight and sitting up straight, but it's much more complex than that. Posture is inherent throughout all of your movement patterns as well. Posture is the structural integrity of the way that your body aligns itself for efficiency. So again, it's inherent throughout all the movement patterns. Let's say that we're talking about throwing a punch, right? Again, main core function: standing, walking, running, and throwing. Throwing a ball, throwing a punch. It's a concept. So when you're throwing a punch, if you have a good solid structure, good solid posture behind the punch is going to have more power and it's going to be more effective. If you have bad posture, then when you throw the punch, what's going to happen? It's going to leak power. This is why, again, posture is so important. Now let's just say we're talking about standing. This is going to give a lot of you guys value. So most people's problem with their posture is that they have poor glute engagement, so their hips are shifted a little bit too far forward. As you can see, when my hips are shifted too far forward, this puts extra weight on my lower back. What do people always complain about all day long? Lower back pain. Why do you guys think that is? It's because of poor posture. And again, it can be from poor glute engagement. It can be from a domino effect of, like, let's say your arches collapse, which is why we need to put a little bit extra attention on the feet and the ankles. It's what we do here at Cutthroat Coaching. Guys, when you come into my program, the first thing that we need to do is teach you about posture so you understand it to a high degree. So I have in-depth training modules on posture. And posture needs a little bit more attention. So I actually have virtual training sessions that we can do to really make sure that you get the posture right. Because again, it's inherent throughout all these exercises. Whether you're doing rows or lunges, you need to understand how to align your body. Your posture literally affects everything. It can cause joint pain, as I demonstrated with the poor posture in your lower back. It can hinder your performance, as I demonstrated with the way that you throw a punch and how it needs to have solid structure behind it. And I mean, just think about the way you look when you have poor posture. So all of these boxes are getting checked off. When posture is so important, they should teach it in school, but they don't, and you have to come to Cutthroat Coaching instead to learn it. So again, I told you guys I would give you a bunch of free value. This is what we're doing here. I'm going to give you the basic breakdown of how to fix your posture. Of course, if you want the virtual training sessions and you want more in-depth explanations, you got to join my program, but this is going to be good for a lot of you. So this is how you can fix your posture. So of course, posture is joint stacking, right? For efficiency. Most people's problem is that their hips are shifted too far forward. So what do we want to do? We want to stack the joints properly. Now, what does this mean? You want to stack the pelvis over that ankle bone here, this little like bone. Now you can have a slight bend in your knees. You don't want to like have them locked out. So from here, right, again, here's the thing. When your hips are shifted too far forward, the rib cage cannot stack itself properly over the pelvis. And this is where the breathing mechanics become inefficient and it's restricted breathing, and it just leads to more and more problems. So again, stack the pelvis over the ankles, stack the rib cage over the pelvis. Now, what you want to do is focus on your breathing mechanics. So when you breathe, what you don't want to do is let your rib cage flare up like this. And you also don't want to raise your shoulders like this, obviously. So you want to let the rib cage expand evenly. So from the front and the back, pause. So you want to let the rib cage expand evenly. Keep the abdominal wall nice and compact, almost like you're going to like take a punch like this. Keep it compact. And now extend the top portion of your spine, which is known as your thoracic spine. You want to do this again without letting the ribs flare up, because that's what's going to want to happen. You want to keep this ribs flare. Don't let the ribs flare up. Keep the abdominal wall compact. Extend the thoracic spine and stack the joints. Pelvis over ankle, slight bend in the knee, rib cage over pelvis, extend the thoracic spine. When you breathe, you can almost like let your, you can almost like raise the rib cage, but again, don't let it flare up and don't raise the shoulders. So that's, again, just a basic explanation. I mean, that might literally fix your back pain. I really hope it does. Now let's talk about how your body actually produces force, which is through the kinetic chain and through the anterior and posterior oblique slings, which is this cross-body connection that connects your upper and lower half of your body. A smart biomechanical design. I'm going to break all this stuff down, but if you need to pause the video, you can pause it and read everything that's on here. But just to put it simply, right, the kinetic chain is the sequence of energy, right? A chain of energy that travels from the ground, through your foot, through your ankle, through your knee, through your hip, in order to propel force, right? Propel your body through space with your running, right? Which is here. That chain of energy goes from the ground all the way through your hand. Same thing if you throw a punch, chain of energy from the ground, through the body, through the hand. Same thing if you throw a ball. Same concept. Not only is it the kinetic chain working from your feet all the way through your hands, but it's also this crossbody pattern, which is, again, the anterior and posterior oblique sling. I'm going to break all this stuff down. You guys ready for this shit? Anterior and posterior oblique sling. Again, this is a smart biomechanical design. This is what allows us to propel our body through space. This is what allows us to create force. This is what allows us to function. Main core function. Running, throwing. This is how it works. So what is it? It's a diagonal chain of muscles that run from your shoulder to your opposite hip, from your shoulder to your opposite glute. So whenever you're throwing a punch, throwing a ball, running, this is how our bodies operate. This is why when you see someone doing something functional on Instagram or something, and it's like some sort of rotational exercise, you're like, oh, rotational is functional. You see the correlation because this is how our bodies are designed. So as I'm explaining this, I'm sure that you're probably thinking, well, hey, that's pretty obvious. It's almost like it's been staring everyone in the face. And we live in the age of ChatGPT. How do people not already know this already? It's okay. I'm here, me, Robert Coda. And this is how it's done. You have to take this into consideration. This is why when you watch my videos, you see the exercises that I'm doing, and you can see the correlation between what I'm doing and real performance, because this is the concept of how I approach the fitness. This is why it works. So when you start to think of your body as a system, that's where you start to improve the way that you move, the way that you feel, because you integrate for efficiency. Now, Most people's problem, once again, is they put too much focus on isolation and heavy lifting. Isolation is a lot easier. You don't have to use your brain that much. You sit there, you pump the weights, you tune out. So this is more complex, but it's the way of the future. When you think about, just say, running and cutting, again, full body integrated movement. Your foot plants, it absorbs the energy, your posture stabilizes itself, and your elastic energy is being stored in your anterior and posterior oblique sling. There's a timing of the sequence of the chain of energy that allows for you to move over here efficiently. So when you take this into consideration and you start implementing this concept in your strength and conditioning, that's where you build real functional strength. So again, it doesn't matter how strong one muscle is, because just because one muscle can contract very hard, if it doesn't contract in the right timing and sequencing through the chain of energy, then we're going to produce as much power. And not only that, but that force that you create is going to get trapped in your joints, and it's going to cause joint pain and compensation patterns. So the kinetic chain, the way that force travels through the kinetic chain, you have to take this into consideration, and you want to optimize this for efficiency. This is why so many people train isolation exercises and they look strong, but they're not strong in real life. They're dealing with joint pain. They're dealing with stiffness all throughout their body. Is that real strength, or is that the appearance of it? Because if the muscles are strong on their own, but they're not strong as part of an integrated system, then there's a problem. The problem is that in real life, running, throwing a punch, swinging a baseball bat, your muscles never work in isolation. So there's a clear difference between isolation and integration training. In real life, whether you're throwing a punch, throwing a ball, swinging a baseball bat, or just running, your muscles are part of an integrated system. And you put too much focus on isolation training, what happens? Your nervous system remembers whatever you teach it to do repeatedly. So then you go and try and put it back into an integrated system, and they fire out of sequence, which leads to dysfunctional, inefficient movement patterns. Some muscles become tight while others become weak. Some muscles are active while others are inactive. And it's because the main focus of your training is not for efficiency. When you switch this approach and you say, okay, I'm going to hit all the strength components, raw strength, explosive strength, whatever it is, so I can get in shape. But I'm also always in the back of my mind thinking about the efficiency of my movement patterns. That's where you actually train your nervous system to be efficient. And that's where you fix the wiring issue, because no amount of heavier lifting, isolation training, is going to help you move better. It's not. The only thing that's going to help you move better is focusing on moving better. So again, the main focus of your training needs to be based on human biomechanics, based on the efficiency of your movement patterns, your posture, the kinetic chain, the posterior and anterior oblique sling. This is what you need to have in the back of your mind as you're doing your exercises. That's where you stimulate your body with the right movement patterns. And when that's your standard, that's where, again, you build real functional strength, high performance capabilities, and most importantly, longevity. So you can live a high quality life for a really long time, like into your 90s. I wonder how I'm going to be moving when I'm like 100 years old. I personally feel like I'm going to live to like 120 years old, maybe 130. So again, guys, so you understand, this is a concept of how we approach the fitness. The main focus needs to be the full body integrated movements, the efficiency of your movement patterns based on human biomechanics. So what does this look like? For lower body, look for cross-body connections where you create force in a horizontal plane of motion rather than just vertical, right? Which is like squats is just vertical. Your feet don't move. What does this mean? Do more lunges. I mean, you guys see what I'm doing. Now it all makes sense. When you guys are going to see my videos, it's all going to make more sense. But your foot should be moving, and it should push, and the opposite hip should come forward as the torso winds up across the sling. This is how you do it, right? Like, think about leg extensions. You're not even pushing through the kinetic chain, so that's a problem. So, guys, for upper body, implement positions that allow rotation, contralateral loading, and kinetic chain principles. What does this mean? Think about landmine presses. When you do a landmine press, you can still use your legs and drive through the kinetic chain, and this is a million times more functional than a cable fly. And again, guys, you can still do some isolation exercises. It's just that your goal shouldn't be to just mindlessly come and pump the muscles up. You want to have organized, elastic, efficient movement expressed at the right timing and sequencing. Focus on the full body integrated movements, honor your biomechanics. Stop fighting this concept. This is the future. So, again, you can still train a little bit for aesthetics, but just don't neglect this concept. So now let's talk about nervous system optimization. What does your nervous system actually do? So your nervous system is the communication network between your brain and all of the soft tissue in your body. It controls how fast your muscles fire and how well they coordinate with each other as far as the timing, how you balance, how you react, which leads to how efficient you move. Strength means nothing if the signal that drives it is weak or delayed. Guys, most of your nervous system is located in the matrix of your fascia. This is why a lot of the movements that you see me doing, right, people refer to it as fascia training because your balance is involved in this sort of thing. So this is what everyone is ignoring. People focus on the muscles, they fatigue them, they grow them, they exhaust them, but they don't think about the signal that drives them. They don't think about the efficiency of the movement patterns. That's why so many people look strong muscles, but they move poorly. They feel like crap. If we're talking about achieving a lifelong result of high performance, functional strength, and longevity, training the nervous system is not optional. It's the foundation that everything is built on. Again, we're talking about balance, coordination, reaction time, and movement efficiency. This is all related to the nervous system, not the muscles. So let's talk about foot to glute connection. Now, everything in your body is connected through your nervous system. So when I talk about nervous system training, one thing that we put a little bit of extra attention on is foot to glute connection. Your foot and your glute are connected as far as when your foot contacts the ground, there's a neurological connection, a nervous system adaptation related to the timing of the way that the muscles fire in sequence. And the reason why you want to have a strong foot to glute connection is because your glute is the biggest muscle. So you want it to be the primary driving force and do its job properly. Again, we need to put a little bit of extra tension on the foot to glute connection. So because again, human biomechanics are built to be on our feet, standing, walking, running, and throwing. So of course, we're going to put a little bit of extra attention into the feet and the ankles because since that's the first point of contact with the ground, it probably needs a little bit extra attention. So let's talk about ankle stiffness and athletic movement, which foot to glute connection plays an important role. Now, human biomechanics, built to be on our feet. So every time that your foot contacts the ground, what happens? Your ankle stiffens. It has to absorb that force and then redirect it through the kinetic chain. So ankle stiffness is dependent upon foot to glute connection because the glute is the strongest muscle. So it needs to be one of the primary driving forces that stabilize the ankle. Long story short, we want to improve the foot to glute connection because that plays an important role in everything that you do. To put it simply, when you think about the most athletic people in the world, these pro soccer players that were playing soccer in the streets of Brazil from a young age, they got that development. They built a strong foot to glute connection. People lose this connection to their glute because they don't train real athletic movement, functional movements, and then they do stuff like leg extensions, which is isolating your quads, not driving force through the kinetic chain, and enhancing the wrong neurological pattern. And then they have poor posture, and then they have pain, and they say, my back hurts. I'm trying to help you guys out. First, we consider the main core functions: standing, walking, running, throwing. How our biomechanics are designed: posture, the kinetic chain, the anterior and posterior oblique sling, the nervous system adaptations related to the efficiency of our movement patterns relating to the main core functions. Then, with that in mind, we build a program that includes all of the components of strength: foundational, power and speed, endurance, stability and control, mobility and range, functional and athletic. Most programs disregard the main core functions and put too much focus on absolute strength, compound lifts, isolation exercises. That's not what we do. This is optimal. So to re-emphasize, the way that we optimize the human body is to teach the body to move correctly, because if we're not moving correctly, then the force that we create is going to work against us. Even if you're just standing, technically you're creating force because gravity is pulling you down. So you have to create force to hold yourself up. So if you don't teach the body to optimize your posture, then it's going to cause joint pain, back pain, whatever. Same thing with your movements. If you're running, that force that you're creating is not driving through your intention, through your body efficiency, then that force gets trapped in your hip or whatever it may be, and then you have pain, compensation patterns, etc. So when you do strength and conditioning in respect to our biomechanics and you focus on the efficiency of our movement patterns, and then you do posture training and you actually understand correct posture, which it's not like you're going to be doing a bunch of posture training exercises all the time in my program. All of these exercises, rows, lunges, when you understand posture, it's another aspect of form that you focus on throughout all of your training. It's very important. So again, all of this is nervous system adaptations, but we do have a more specific nervous system training that we do, which is improving the foot to glute connection, improving your balance, and even like improving the connection between your fingertips to your lat muscles, which gets even more advanced. And then now let's talk about recovery work, which we actually haven't talked about. So let's talk about recovery. Nobody knows how to do it right. Most people think I need to stretch. I need to do 15 minutes stretching before my workout. I need to do 15 minutes stretching after. But that doesn't really get to the root of the problem as far as what your body needs. And it can actually do more harm than good. So you have to understand that when you stretch your muscles, you can damage the receptors inside of them that control proper tension, and overstretching, which can then lead to inefficient movement patterns, which makes sense, right? So stretching, it stretches out the muscle, right? Your muscle has elastic properties. Think about a rubber band. What happens to a rubber band when you stretch it out too much? It gets damaged to the point of no return. So it doesn't really give your body what it needs, and I'll explain. So stretching targets the muscle. What you need to do is target the fascia. What is the fascia? How does this work? The fascia is a web of tissue that is everywhere throughout your body. And what will happen is that adhesions will occur in your fascial tissue. Now, your fascia is intertwined within your muscles, it's intertwined within your organs, it holds your whole skeletal system together, and it's where your nervous system is. So what you need to do to remove these adhesions that are in your fascia is actually put pressure on it. Now, like if you think about your palm, right? If I go like that, you see the blood rush away and then go to it. What does this do? It rehydrates it. This is so important. So you need to hold it, put pressure on it until it melts, and then you remove that adhesion, boom, and then you rehydrate it. So you got to understand that these adhesions, they limit your mobility and they dampen the neural signaling that's responsible for efficient movement patterns. Now, if you look at, for example, this picture, this is the difference between someone that gets regular massages versus not. This fascial tissue is all dried up, it's not hydrated, and there's adhesions in the fascia. And when you rehydrate the muscles and remove the adhesions, you actually get better muscle contractions. So basically it's self-massage therapy. This is myofascial release, but it's the way that you do it. And again, you need to pinpoint the adhesions, put pressure. After you do that several times and you kind of rehydrate it and break it down, then you can start to kind of hash it out like that. And this is why I have the tutorials on how to do myofascial release on all the different parts of your body: your glute, your hamstring, your quad, your IT band, your ankle, your calves, right? On both sides of your calves, the bottom of your feet. This is how you do recovery work, and I got you covered. So again, myofascial release gets to the root of the issue because it addresses the quality of the tissue that most people ignore, right? Again, think about how people work out. They only focus on the muscles. That's like stretching. But what about the fascia? What about the nervous system? Same thing here. This is why you need to do myofascial release, so you can rehydrate the tissue. You can address the actual restriction that limits your mobility and dampens the neural signaling. So in my program, I have my own app. Of course, my app has the workouts that are easy to follow. There's video demonstrations for everything, whether it's a boxing workout, it tells you how many sets to do, how many reps to do, how long to rest. It's so easy to follow. A monkey could do it, and you guys will know exactly what to do every day based on your goals. Obviously someone that's a pro athlete is not going to get the same program as someone that's 60 years old, right? My oldest client is 68 years old. I would love to have a 70-year-old or an 80-year-old. I know what you need. It's just, I'm here for you whenever you're ready. So guys, the program is so easy to follow. There's systems and structure to all of this, right? Not just the workouts, but we have the habit integration framework so that you can actually schedule your routine in a way that makes sense, that's easiest for you, right? We have your warm-up routines, your morning routines, a routine checklist that guarantees your success, guys. I'm going to hold your hand every step of the way and show you what you actually need to have in place in order to stay organized, in order to be consistent. And then, of course, we have the movement correction protocol, which is in-depth training modules on how to do certain movements, right? The presses, the rows, the lunges. You guys need to understand the actual mechanics of how to do this correctly, because I'm going to have you do progressions of cable presses, progressions of cable rows. So you need to understand these movement patterns to a high degree, and then of course the posture as well. So let's focus on what this is all about, which is you getting results, right? That's the whole point of a custom blueprint, so that you can actually get the results that's best for your life. That's why I'm going to work with you guys one-to-one and actually review your form and give you virtual training sessions and one-to-one check-ins and adjust your meal plan and adjust your program so that you guys can get results. That's why I give you guys exclusive access to all this stuff. My app, all these resources, my community where I send informational posts on Instagram, right? And you guys can talk to me every single day, right? My personal phone number. And I also have exclusive discounted pricing on peptides, because you guys know I sell peptides. If someone's not my client, they have to buy them for regular price and I'll make a profit. But if you guys join my program, that's what I'll do for you. I'll give my peptides to you for the price that I get them at, so that I don't make any money. That way, everyone's happy. So again, the whole point of all this is so that you can transform your life. This is so much deeper than just about workouts. This is about self-mastery. These systems allow you to build the habits. The habits allow you to get the results. The results are what allow you to gain that self-respect and carry the energy of a leader so that you can influence the world and live the life that you want. It's not a question of whether or not this stuff works. This stuff works. My record in fighting reflects that. My client testimonials reflect that. It's a question of whether or not you're going to show up and do the work. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. That's what allows you to build that mental strength. If you're not constantly hitting that wall, how are you going to level up? Once you hit that wall, once it feels hard, once it feels like a challenge, once there's an obstacle in the way and you say, fuck, I don't want to do it, or whatever it may be, it feels uncomfortable. Paying money to invest in yourself, doing the workout, doesn't matter. How you do one thing is how you do everything. This stuff works, guys. You come in, you do the work, you get the results, you change your life. Simple as that. I want you guys to imagine actually being an optimal human and living at your high self. You get out of bed, no joint pain. You go for a walk, it's time to train, time to perform, no stiff feeling all throughout your body. You get home from the gym, after a long day of work, you still have energy. So you can be fully present with your family. So you can have energy in the bedroom, so that you can play with your kids and their friends, whatever it may be. Also, having a top tier physique, doesn't hurt, right? Being respected by yourself when you look in the mirror every single day, letting that energy reflect outwards so that you can influence others. This is what cutthroat coaching is all about, guys. This is what happens when you optimize performance, longevity, and functionality. So click the link, book a call. There's no time to waste. Let's go.